And welcome to the Refined Peasants podcast. And today it is Garrett's Absolute. And we're going to talk about a large, hairy biped that may, or probably does, wander the American wilderness. If you don't know, we're talking about Bigfoot. This has probably been a long time coming. I know it's been on me and Nick's list for a while. But what brought this up today specifically was so I'm about to turn 30 because I'm an old man. And I am planning a Bigfoot excursion in Oklahoma for my 30th birthday. It's going to be a 4-day, 30-mile hike. I think Nick's coming with me, and Wyatt is still...
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We're going to spend 4 days hiking in the woods through the largest concentration of Bigfoot sightings in Oklahoma. And I am fucking ecstatic. So, let's start off. I think everybody knows what Bigfoot is. You know, we've got like I said in the beginning, this is a large, hairy, bipedal creature that wanders the wilderness of America. What do we all think about that?
You can just start at that end of the table.
Nick, what do we think about Bigfoot?
I think there's some evidence that something, at least, is out there that people are seeing. As I got older, my belief in Bigfoot has gotten little and little and little.
Oh, the wonders seeping from his eyes.
But I think people are seeing something. Clearly, they're not seeing a bear. Because a lot of people, they're spent 30 years in the woods. They know what a bear looks like, even on 2 legs. They're like, they know what a bear looks like. They're not seeing bear. What they're seeing, I don't know.
It's like I've never once seen a bear and thought, that might be a humanoid creature. No, it's a bear.
And there's some things in history, actually. I'll get into it later, but the book I got, it tells, like, Teddy Roosevelt writes about supposedly...
It's a secondhand story about
Yeah, from a mountain, from, like, an actual mountain man and stuff like that.
There's a lot of stories like that, and we'll get into some of them. I for sure... So I say I 100% believe in Bigfoot, and I don't know exactly what he is. I'm not... So there are some really weird theories. If you watch Ancient Aliens... Some of the people think Bigfoot's an alien. No. And I'm not here for that. Okay, I think Bigfoot is a physical, biological creature that we could actually observe and scientifically document. And I am going to do it. We are going to come back with a Bigfoot body. And then you'll never see me on this podcast again because I will be rich and off somewhere.
It'll be too good for
my
us.
best life.
Is the trail you're doing in Oklahoma?
It is in Oklahoma.
Are you going to get a license for him?
No, I'm not getting a license for him.
Would you?
I have a lifetime hunting license, so
yeah, we don't have to buy
I
it.
don't have to buy it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to get a tag for Bigfoot?
No,
that's what the license is for.
Tags for unproven creatures. So that's why it was so easy to exterminate the gorillas in Africa. Because you saw them and you just shot them. No one believed they existed.
Alright then.
No, that's totally fake news. And Wyatt, what is your opinion on the existence of Bigfoot?
So, he's obviously not fucking real. It is at best a bunch of stupid fucking half-wits pretending to see shit that they didn't see. Or they are so fucking stupid that they actually think that they saw this thing. That cannot... It's like when people tell you they saw leprechauns. It's like they couldn't have seen
I think a lot more people have seen Bigfoot than have seen leprechauns.
Americans are a lot dumber than the Irish. And I know because the dumbest of the Irish came to America and populated and spread like fish. It's
okay. It's okay to be racist against the Irish.
Yeah, I am Irish.
They ain't give a shit.
Not Irish Catholic.
No, we're not Irish.
Oh, that's why we left Ireland.
Yeah. But no, I do not believe in Magic Monkey Man.
Okay, so this isn't Magic Monkey Man. Again, I think this is a physical creature.
This isn't like Merlin.
Oh, I'd argue he's fucking magic. If he's real, he's magical. There's no way.
For all we know,
to escape field biologists. Fucking, we can discover different types of snakes in the fucking Ozark Mountains, but we can't discover a fuking.
I'm just gonna say this right now.
Monkey
We're
man.
gonna have to
I'm not trying to get into it now. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say that there's possibility he might just be blurry.
He just might be heavily pixelated, okay?
He might forever be 8-bit pixels. We don't know.
This is the podcast we need to be not sober for. This could be so much fun.
Yeah, we probably should have brought the whiskey in here with us.
You guys keep.
Just bring it in here. You bring in another one.
We're just gonna go ahead and do that. You guys do that. Sorry, you guys saw my sweats.
Oh man, we should have done the second one first.
Yeah. So
Anyway, student loan debt.
No, that's next week. So we're gonna get into a little bit of the evidence to go right off the bat. Let's bring up the history a little bit first. So if you don't know, the stories of Sasquatch or Sasquatch-like creatures are ancient and all over the world.
We have the Epic of Gilgamesh tells of a Sasquatch.
What?
So the way Enkidu is described,
He is a Sasquatch. He's a hairy wild man.
he's a giant.
Who's an idiot.
Yeah, he's a giant wild man, strong as Gilgamesh and all that. He's literally like a lot of people's like, yeah, in the Middle East that's Enkidu. That's what they call him.
That is actually what they call him. Is Enkidu.
Who in the Epic of Gilgamesh is fucking Bigfoot?
Enkidu.
They don't actually. Do people really think
That's
that?
No. In the Middle East, like we call him Sasquatch.
They call him Enkidu.
Yeah, and like you know how they call him Yeti? Yeah, he's called Enkidu because he's described as a giant, hairy, wild man who always runs like rather be in the forest. That's mine, by the way. That's my love that decanter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we're just gonna pass this along.
Okay. So, you want to shut the door again? Or
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Actually, why can you go get my Roosevelt book real quick?
Why are you sending him all over? Okay, fine.
Because Roosevelt is a big thing, part of it.
So really, again, these stories go all the way back. So Native Americans on each coast have written about Sasquatch. They call them different names. Sasquatch comes from the northwestern tribes.
Yeah.
And they all refer to basically the same thing. And then you've got what's the Orang Pendek, the Yeti,
Thank you.
the what is it?
The Yowies in Australia, that's the down under.
Yeah, the Yowies.
Wait, they have Australian Bigfoot.
Yeah, they're called Yowies. Funny enough, the ones on Indonesia are called hobbits.
Oh gosh, what is the name of them?
Homo florensis.
No, that's the actual name. I'm talking about.
Their name's hobbits.
Oh, there's a name. Like we watched the documentary, the fake documentary.
Yeah,
Dude, we gotta talk about that one day, dude. I was convinced.
Dude, that was crazy.
That was after Discovery stopped doing they did. They made it to fool people.
They did the dragons, then they did the mermaids, then they did the.
Well, the dragons one was just.
I was convinced that
it's Epigogo.
Is it the Epigogo?
It's the Epigogo.
I have no idea.
Which it's based on a real story, but so just to touch on that a little bit. In case you didn't watch the Discovery Channel?
Yeah, it's the Cannibal in the Jungle.
Yeah, Cannibal in the Jungle.
Not the movie. Don't watch the movie. Oof.
It's so basically it's a fake documentary series. They did it for dragons first, and they take scientists who and basically pose the question: what would a dragon look like if it was if it was exactly how described? So what would be the biological processes of a dragon?
How big
would it actually exist?
How big would the wings have to be to do all? And when they did
and they've got air bladders and hollow bones. They go full into it.
And they tell you flat out this is fake. None of this is real. This is just a what if. But as Discovery got more and more, they stopped doing. Yeah, they basically just try to fool people with Megalodon mermaids and the Cannibal in the Jungle. And they're called mockumentaries, and we're actually the one that we're watching right now is a mockumentary.
There's one on Bigfoot.
It's called Bigfoot Capture. It's basically what would an 8-foot tall monkey man look like compared to a human, and it's just a whole mockumentary and all that.
But it's crazy because they got away with it. So again, we watched the Cannibal in the Jungle, and it was I was convinced that this had actually happened. They do fake interviews with prisoners.
Yeah,
they do It's crazy how much, and you really should look at them. So the dragons one's a little outdated because the CGI is terrible.
Yeah.
And the mermaids is kind of the same thing. But Cannibal in the Jungle was intense.
Yeah, I was younger, but I was probably still in high school, or I was out in middle school. I was in high school. But I was convinced that this dude got attacked by essentially ape midgets.
Yeah, and so that's part of what makes it more compelling is there is scientific evidence for Homo floresiensis.
Yeah, and that's what
that they lived alongside the people
they didn't
of Indonesia.
I understand that they may have died off thousands of years ago, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not that old.
That's definitely ancestral stories.
They could still be, could be around. And I was like, dude, no shot, right? And then, I can't remember who we got told. Our neighbor told us. That's who told us.
Yeah, it was.
Our neighbor told us, you guys know, those stuffs are fake. If you look it up. And I was like, no way.
Yeah,
and I tried to Google it, and then, click.
Yeah, there's like a very small, like you never notice it. A disclaimer, it's like this is all fake.
Well, I think after the mermaids one, the articles that were covering the mockumentary, because people believed the mermaids one too.
Yeah,
bigger. They thought governments were covering it up.
But so like they mentioned like NOAA in the like this guy they're interviewing for the mermaids one is like a former scientist at NOAA, which is the National Oceanic
Observation, something.
Yeah, something or other. It's some big oceanic observation group.
Right.
So, or at least that's what they say his credentials are, and it's totally bullcrap. But so that's how they get you. But I'm telling you, they're really great. But we're going to talk about these are stories that go back for a very long time in very different cultures. So that's the historical context of Bigfoot, or at least these Bigfoot-esque creatures. And I guess now we can go ahead and talk about what evidence there is for Bigfoot. And we'll probably start with the most well-known and well-documented, which are Bigfoot footprints.
We're going to cover that first?
Yeah.
Not the most, the fucking iconic footage?
Okay, we can talk about the Patterson Gimlin film.
No, if you wanted to go to footprints, I'm cool. I was just like, oh man, I feel like we have to talk about that. You can't have a Bigfoot podcast and not talk about...
You really can't.
You can't not talk about Patty.
People who don't know... They don't believe in Bigfoot.
Know
that film is called the Patterson Gimlin.
Yeah, everyone knows Patty.
Yeah.
Let's cover that. We'll get that knocked out. So, if you haven't seen the iconic footage, get out from under the rock you're living under, and go Google it. Okay, you'll be able to find it. It's really easy. It's really widespread. It is essentially the footage of a female Bigfoot. Being stumbled upon and then walking away. And that's all it is. But it is by far, if it is real, by far the best video evidence there is of Bigfoot. Yep. Right? I mean, so most of the footage that you see even these days captured on phones or real cameras is really blurry, really quick.
Yeah, they're far away. Like, most phones can't zoom in as even by back then standards, these high-definition cameras that they had.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, for the time, because it was filmed in like the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it may have even been the 60s.
It may have been the 60s.
I want to say it was 1967.
It was old enough that they were riding horseback where they were instead of four-wheelers, so... but...
I'm saying, you know.
And it's really astounding footage. Now, I'm going to go over the negatives of it first.
I know nothing about it,
so
it's interesting.
The biggest issue is Patterson's credibility.
1967 is when it was filmed.
Oh, okay, 60s, 70s. The biggest issue is Patterson's credibility. He was a failed movie maker.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Which
this.
is the entire reason he had all the equipment with him. And he was explicitly going out to make a Bigfoot movie.
Yeah, so he heard about the footprints nearby.
Yeah, there had been footprints found, and those are documented.
Yeah, and
so him and his buddy Gimlin,
it's Robert Patterson, Bob Gimlin. They both go out, and they just we just want to see if we can encounter one of these. And
lo and behold,
so Patterson's the one who talks about it most. Gimlin does not. He doesn't. He doesn't talk about it much. He's like, dude, I don't care. This is what we saw. Believe me, don't believe me, I'm done.
Yeah, fuck off. What do I care? And so the story is they're riding horseback down into this, it's a mostly dried up riverbed, right?
Yeah.
And they don't see anything, okay? It's not until, doesn't Patterson get thrown from his horse?
Yeah, so his horse bucks.
Yeah, his horse actually notices the creature before him and throws him off. And that's why the very beginning of the footage is him scrambling.
Yeah, because he's running down, basically, it's like a small slope of the ridge. And he's just sliding and stuff like that with his camera trying to get footage.
Yeah.
And he basically holds the camera steady on a log. And that's where you get the really clear...
Beautiful, just beautiful shot.
If
it's fake, it's a beautiful piece of cinematography for the time.
Yeah, if you watch the whole film, you can see, there's parts where he's shaking, you get glimpses of it, and then he finally gets it steady, and you can see it walking.
Right. And so that again, that's pretty much the prime negative about, this could be fake, is basically the circumstances of Patterson even being there. And then on top of that, so this wasn't his first excursion looking for this creature, But people can literally go their entire lives hunting for Bigfoot every weekend and never see the dude. Right? And it just so happens that you're out there with full camera equipment trying to film a Bigfoot movie, and there it is. Now, to his credit, the Bigfoot movie he wanted to make never got produced. So he never actually made the Bigfoot movie, which you figure if this was supposed to be part of footage for a movie, he would have fully done the movie, right? Because the hoax, if it is a hoax, the video hasn't been profitable to him or to Gimlin. Like, nobody, it's basically just gotten them ridiculed for called hoaxers and fake. So there wasn't any money to be made in it besides maybe the initial selling of the footage. Like, no one got rich off this.
Yeah, so my biggest thing is, like, so many people have come out saying they're the person who wore the monkey suit.
Oh, yeah.
And like hundreds of people have said, like, they're the ones, like, most of them were just bullshitting.
Right, like, well, okay, if 100 people came out and said they were in the monkey suit,
99
are lying to you. At least, minimum, right?
Yeah.
So,
And, let's go into the pros of it, because there's a lot of pros.
There are, and I'll tell you, so the biggest for me are the body ratios. So
yeah, the arms are really long.
I mean, I'll say this.
It's inhuman, is really frankly
So
what it
this is before Jaws, right? So the first Jaws came out in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Spitballing.
But,
I
mean, this is early, and this is, it's clearly not CGI. Even back then, we would know.
Oh, no.
No,
So this,
like, CGI didn't come out until the 90s.
If it's a fake, it's got to be a man in a freaking suit.
Wait.
And I'm just saying, like, for the 70s, like, I could see it. We don't know much. I mean, we've come a long way in knowledge.
Yeah.
In 60 fucking years.
Well, so the issue is, you had at the time...
Like, I see why it took off.
The best person in Hollywood, the best costume maker in Hollywood, he said, like, he could get close, but he couldn't do, like, the muscle definitely. Like, you can see muscle bulging.
That's kind of the thing, is so I'm going to start off with the ratios. So human anatomy, typically, unless you're malformed, has a specific ratio, like forearm to upper arm to where your kneecaps are on your legs. Like, there are certain aspects of your anatomy that you could see from afar, and a professional could identify you as human, whether or not they actually see a human face. And they have done the research on this footage, and like there have been several documentaries that will take like a tape measure and measure it out on video and stuff, and the proportions are inhuman. They are not human. Which, like, where its knee bends, how long its arms are, it's just not. It's not possible. Like, even if you put a person in a monkey suit, his joints wouldn't bend there. His joints wouldn't be there. You know, his arms and hands, you'd have a foot dangling off the bottom that would just be limp. So it's that's, to me, the most compelling evidence in favor of the footage.
No. To me, it's the muscle. Like, you can see muscle bulging and flexing and moving like any other living, breathing animal is.
So I'm a little indifferent. Like, it's hard to see on the footage. If they slow it down, they can kind of show you, like, okay, this is where its chest is now.
No, you'll see the thigh, and then when it steps, you'll see the thigh flex like ours does. You'll see the flex. You'll see
the muscle take the weight.
Yeah, you'll see it flex, and then it'll relax as it lifts back up. And, like, you can see, like, the foot bend and move like we would. Like, it's...
Oh, you typically can't see the feet. It's hidden behind that log. Maybe early on.
Yeah, you can see, like, the butt. It goes, and it lifts.
Which we're going to get into, why that's important. The mid-tarsal break. But, so that we've got the musculature. And the final, kind of less important fact. Do you have more on the musculature?
Yeah. No, I got more on, like, just the way it walks is, basically a guy, and what he does, I forgot his name. We were just watching him. White made fun of him.
Oh, the Bigfoot guy?
Yeah, so basically, his whole thing is that he's a primate expert.
He's a primatologist.
And he specializes on gaits, i.e. how we walk, how chimps, gorillas, and all of them, how they move, how they're supposed to move. And he took a peak physical athlete, and the athlete couldn't walk the same. He said if you do, it's awkward, it's unnatural.
Well, and they've also replicated, like, they've measured the stride of the Bigfoot, and I think it's like 6 feet. Like, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's like 5 to 6 foot stride.
That's all leg.
Which is huge. Well, and see, but if looking at the creature, this is not an all leg creature. Like, so it must be huge to stride 6 feet. Now, you also have to take into consideration that it's probably speed walking. Like, whatever this creature is, if it exists, does not like being seen by humans. So it is probably hightailing it out of there. But still, a 5 to 6 foot stride, even a 4 foot stride on a human makes you shack.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all the compelling evidence that we can gather from this footage. We can't 100% prove it's fake, but it has been proven unedited. The original footage, there is no editing. So there's no, like, Photoshop. Of course, this was in 1967. But, like, this hasn't been tampered with. And we still have the original footage to go over and over and over. And they still can't prove that it was faked. Which is pretty intense. I know you can't, if you can't prove it's fake, doesn't mean it's real. But...
yeah.
And that's going to be the evidence that everybody... the final bit kind of goes with the musculature, is the Bigfoot in the film has very noticeable breasts. And so the argument there is for, if you were going to make a costume, why would you go through the extra effort to make it female? That takes extra fabric. It's no more or less compelling, I guess. But it seems like unlikely that it seems like an unlikely...
unnecessary add to it.
Yeah.
Why?
Cost more.
So, yeah, it's just... Well, Patterson was not money... Like, he was money poor. He was in a lot of debt, and that's why he was trying to make this film, which, again, goes to the negative side of this. Because he had been trying to make movies and failing. So, he wouldn't have had... I don't know that he would have had the money to even afford a Bigfoot costume, much less if he had finite resources, why go through the effort to make it female? And that's kind of the thing with me, is why would you go to that extra mile? But I guess the most convincing lies are partial truths. So, like,
it couldn't have been that much extra expensive, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Like, they had some guy make genuine, like, Bigfoot feet, like, on stilts and everything, cost, like, $20,000 to get the,
to get like today, though?
Yeah, that's today.
Okay, well, so inflation. So it's like $5 back then.
So basically, like, to get like
$10 a year ago,
like our fingerprints and all that, to get it to bend, to make it look natural, it was $20,000.
So
and who's going to spend $20,000 realistically on these high
titties? Like, I mean, I guess people do, but I guess that's a good transition into the footprints, though. So we're going to get... This is probably the quantity, the most evidence we have.
Well, hold on. Do you guys believe that the Patterson-Gimlin footage is real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Anyway, on to feet. On to 8 feet, matter of fact.
Yeah. We're a fetish video now. Way to go.
Oops.
So, there are a lot of really compelling... And most of it... Do you know the guy's name?
Which one?
The primatologist that we talked about.
Jeff Meldrum.
Okay, so he is on a lot of Bigfoot documentaries, mostly because he's the most accredited scientist who will actually go on camera.
And he say he believes in Bigfoot?
He thinks there's a possibility.
He thinks there's something out there, and some of the footprints he has. So he has got thousands of footprint casts.
We have a lot of Bigfoot casts.
So many, and some of them are much more compelling than others. And he's the guy to tell you which ones are and which ones aren't. And most of the time, if he gets to go into an in-depth analysis of the footprints. The big thing for him is going to be the mid-tarsal break. And so if you don't know what a mid-tarsal break is, in the middle of your foot, like your foot, it doesn't bend, right? There are no bones to actually bend the physical foot. Your ankle takes the bending.
Yeah, see, we have an arch, whereas primates have bones going through the whole foot. That's why they bend and stuff.
Yeah. So the mid-tarsal break is, imagine if this is your foot. Your foot would bend at my knuckles. So see how that goes?
It's just more flexibility. That's why shrimps and stuff can use their feet as hands.
Right. Well, that and the big toe is more like a hand. Which also is indicative on some of the big footprints. That big toe is actually set farther to the inside to make it more hand-like. But the mid-tarsal break is because that you can't simulate that, is his big thing. Like, there is no way that you're going to be able to show him a footprint of a mid-tarsal break and him not know it's a fake. But he has one, or he has several, that actually show where the foot breaks over. So, like, there's a crease where it bends, and it will show that. And he's like, that's you can't. Like, you're not going to fool me. I mean, they might, bring me a Bigfoot footprint. I'm not going to know true or false, but...
Oh, yeah, he's notorious for, like, he'll get footprints and be like, oh, yeah, see, this one's fake. And he smashes it. He goes, see how this, and this? Like, this is what he does for a living. He studies primates' feet.
Yeah, and the Bigfoot thing, I think Nick mentioned it earlier when we were talking. The Bigfoot thing's a hobby, but he does study primate gait, primate feet, and the anatomy that makes it possible. And he does have, of thousands and thousands, he does have some that show this might be a real creature. So, and I don't know that he's come out and said he believes in Bigfoot, but he at least believes in the possibility, or why spend all the time cataloging all these footprints. And it's pretty crazy. Like I said, when you get to the point where the primatologist, foot expert says, look, I would know if these people were faked, like, that's pretty compelling. Again, most people aren't going to believe in Bigfoot until I bring them the body on October 9th. But I think it's pretty astounding. Gosh. So we went over...
So is Bigfoot just like a North American thing?
No.
Oh, no. That's what we talked about while you were gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bigfoot goes... I mean, he's all over. And I guess we could talk about theories. And we'll even talk on the weird ones. Or do you want to do the sounds first?
Yeah, let's get evidence first. Or all the...
So
Patterson Gimlin films,
there's
the footprints.
Yeah, there's like a few. I think there's 3 total films that are the most credible. One was I can't remember the name of it. They'll get onto it on the documentary, but
it wasn't the one Survivor Man's had, right?
No. Basically, it's a figure on the mountain ridge, and the arms are like its hands are past its knees. Like it's large, tall, hands past the knees, and it's just like it looks unnatural and stuff like that. And the biggest.
Do we know the name of that footage?
I will here in a bit.
So we'll have Wyatt put a link in the description to the actual.
So we've talked about footage, but the biggest to me is audio, because audio confirms a lot of things. So in the early 1970s, a man named Ron Moorhead and his hunting buddies were hunting in the Sierra Mountains. They'd had this hunting camp for years, no problems. One year,
Is this the same guy that was on the Missing 411?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched it.
While you talk about this, I'm going to pull up the Missing 411 audio, because that's pretty intense, too.
So, basically, one year, they were sitting in their camp, and what they had was basically a rundown. They mostly slept outside. They had bears in the area, and if they did, they just basically went to, like, this wooden structure that was made out of dead logs and shit. And they started hearing things. Just typical whoops, wood knock, and stuff like that. They didn't know what it was.
Wood noises.
Yeah, they didn't know what it was. And so they went inside their shelter, and then they could hear it outside. It would never come through to where the fire was. It would never come in the light. And then the next year, Rom says, I'm going to try to get this on audio. Realistically, no one wanted to go back. None of his friends wanted to go back. And they go, and they capture these calls on audio.
Right, and so there's a video that goes along with it, at least in the Missing 411.
So they play, so it was just an audio tape. So most of the time they'll just play like either a black screen or like a screen like inside a cabin or something. But it's just the audio recording.
This must be a different video, which I actually find. So we're talking about the Sierra sounds, and
I'm talking about the Ron.
Right. So there's the Ron Moorhead.
Yeah, that's the one.
But then, so that's the Sierra sounds. And then this one apparently is a different audio recording in the same area.
Let me listen to it. I can tell you the difference. I've listened to the Sierra sounds enough times, but basically, after the sounds and all that got done...
Keep talking, I'll tell you what it's playing.
After that, he took it to a bunch of experts, and what they've confirmed was, one, it's not been altered, because they talk while the thing is making the sound, so they know it's not been altered in any way.
Alright, so here we go. I'm going to turn up my audio.
Let's see. Yeah, it's the same sound. Yeah, the footage is not the same.
can shoot our way out. You're just sitting there. All of you are kind of petrified. You're just waiting.
So that's his testimony.
So there's a lot more to the thing. That's to the back half of it. A lot of people describe it as broken Asian. It sounds like broken Asian.
When you hear the actual sounds, well, I don't know if we actually played the full one for you, but it's actually it's creepy. Like if I was alone in the woods, when we go on this Bigfoot excursion and we hear sounds like that, I'm getting the pistol. Like it's terrifying.
And so after they basically leave the strait. The next morning they leave. They go, we're gone, and. Ron takes it to an expert. He takes it to several experts, and to this day, no one can figure out so they took it to a guy, and his whole thing is audio. He can tell you how big something is just by audio.
He can tell you the sound of a bear shitting in the woods.
Yeah, and he said, all right, just from how deep and how high the vocals are, it has to be at least 8 feet tall. At least.
Because the length of the vocal cords.
I gotta talk to this motherfucker. There's no... I mean, look,
So that's
I'm not gonna say he can't fucking do that. I'm just saying...
We do that now.
As a simpleton... That's so hard for me to believe.
We do it. So
you know what I mean?
It's like how dogs can hear different pitches as we. Then we.
No,
can.
I believe it.
Like bats emit a different pitch that we can't hear.
And it's ultrasonic.
And animals can make. It's like how whales can make such high frequencies.
That's infrasound. That's
low
frequency.
Like sperm whales can make clicks that travel miles long, and it's because they're so large.
That would be really interesting. I'd love to hear the infrasound from that audio if they were able to get it. Isolate the audio clip and then try to get the infrasound from it. So, if you don't know what infrasound is, it's this... large creatures emit it. We've been found, big cats especially, will emit infrasound, sounds you can't hear, but you can your body still reacts to it.
It's been known to have multiple effects, fear being the most common.
Panic.
Calms are one of them. The cats do it to sometimes subdue prey to make them feel calm.
It's fucking crazy.
But
anyway,
so he takes it to these experts. They say so. One of them says it's got to be at least 8 feet tall, maybe 1,000-pound range at the biggest, 1,000 pounds. Which
is oddly correlative to what people predominantly.
Well, so most people say it's a ton. It's 2,000 pounds. No, it's probably 500,000 pounds. It's no bigger than a bear.
Biggest bear.
It's no bigger than a bear.
A 2,000-pound quadruped, you'd have to be way more than 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, biped.
Yeah, and so they take it to other people, and what they've figured out is one, it's never been altered, so that way they haven't gone back recorded because if you watch the audio, they talk while it's doing its noise. Whatever's out there doing its noise. Couldn't have been done back when this was filmed. You couldn't do that without it being very noticeable. You ever know how we cut audio and sometimes it's a noticeable difference? You couldn't do that.
Why it's untapped.
I like to think I'm good at my job.
So you couldn't do that back then, and it leads credibility to it. And so it's the only Bigfoot evidence that I know of that's never been completely debunked in any way.
No, so it is hard. You can't disprove it because again. There are experts in the audio field, so and
they'll just tell you we don't know what it is. We just don't.
Well,
it's something made this
sound. They don't tell you they don't know what it is. They tell you they know it's an 8 foot tall fucking primate.
They know it's primate in origin just by the vocalization types.
So in the way they know that, my understanding, the way they know that is only primate mouths can make ooh and ah. So there's vowel sounds that is distinctly primate. You can't. It's the muscle structure in our mouths that allow for that kind of vocalization. So when you make sound, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was my understanding.
I'm not a big primate expert. They know it's at least what they believe is primate in origin, just the way the vocals sound.
It's primate in origin.
Could be a person.
No, because how they say it couldn't be a person
the range.
Because the range is so high and so low.
Where is that?
Sierra Mountains.
Could be a girl from Vegas, or a dude from Vegas trying to make it big. It could be a singer. I'm serious.
But you understand,
maybe,
no matter the
in the middle of the woods at night.
Maybe the mob was trying to kill him, and they said, "Sing for your life."
You understand, it doesn't matter. He still couldn't physically reach the range as this thing was making.
Who are you to kill that man's dream? But
who's the mob to kill the man?
You owe to debt, man. Pay your debts.
The big and actually,
What's up next?
Well, I'll get back into some of the history about it. My favorite president here.
Well, hang on. So let's save him to start off with actual stories.
Okay, I got some stories we can do.
So, hey, do we have any other wrapping up thoughts about the Sierra Sounds? Again, so I didn't get to play the full audio clip on the podcast. I encourage you to go Google the Sierra
Yeah,
Sounds.
just look up Ron Moorhead.
I'll
Sierra
have
Sound.
a link in the description. You can click that.
It's fascinating. It really is.
I won't lie to you. It doesn't convince me.
Well, of course. Again, you're the kind of person I'm gonna have to bring the body to. That's why
That's
it's
what I'm
getting
saying,
dropped
yeah,
on your doorstep.
You're gonna have to.
Bring the body. This thing's heavy as shit. I'm bringing the head.
No.
If I bring a head, you won't be convinced. I have to bring the whole fucking 8 foot
the
tall
entire
corpse.
thing. I don't care if it weighs 3 tons somehow.
Also, if we go missing after October 9th, I want y'all to know we found him and they killed us.
That's
right.
They killed us.
Well, so
We should talk about what's worse, death by Bigfoot or...
Well, so we're gonna get into like these creatures probably aren't solitary. One, they're primates if they exist. They're primates, and that makes them social creatures.
Yeah. In the Sierra Sounds,
Like-
there's 2 vocalizations.
They're talking to each other. I'm reminded of that Dr. Grant clip in Jurassic Park 3. They could communicate. They were smarter than dolphins or whales. Anyway.
It's your cousin Billy.
So, any other thoughts on the Sierra Sounds, Nick?
I mean, it's very compelling evidence that something's making this sound. It's not a person, at the very least, and it's not. And the only thing it could be is a primate.
If you want to argue with science, you take it up with science. All right.
Multiple sides.
I need a bone. I need hair. I need something.
But audio of something that is not human, that has to be primate in origin.
All of you've shown me is what it isn't. Like,
Okay.
Well, we showed you what experts say it
it's
is.
a primate. It's a primate.
that could be a human. That could be us.
No,
We're
they
primates.
literally said it can't be a
It
human.
can't be us. So it's a primate that's not us.
There's a zoo nearby.
Not in the
Not
fucking
in Sierra
Sierra.
Mountains, I wouldn't think.
No, obviously there's no fucking zoo nearby. It was fucking.
Well, okay, I had to consider it. Like, goddamn.
I
so-
debunked the Sierra Nevada Sounds live on fucking camera.
Google, where's the Sierra? Fuck, it's right there.
Oh god, it's Uncle Billy's Zoo.
Yep.
Like,
Or a
service came to
menagerie.
town 2 weeks later.
It's
they
Michael
found-
Jackson's menagerie.
No, Jesus.
Alright, so I guess the final bit of this is we're going to get into eyewitness testimony. At least the most compelling eyewitness testimony that we can recall. I've forgot more about Bigfoot testimony than YouTube will ever remember. But Nick, go ahead and start.
I know
us off.
a lot. I know about a fucking town in Alaska that was abandoned, and it's reported because of Bigfoot. Yeah, they played that thing up to it was
There's tons of speculation as to what caused that. That's not
something that hit people over the head with mining equipment.
Oh, you're okay. I was
Portlock, Alaska. Yeah.
Yep.
That could be a person.
No, like we're talking like
tore them to pieces.
yeah, like they people started going missing, and one of the compelling things is something took a 300-pound object, is a piece of equipment,
And smashed a dude under it.
smashed a dude's head in, and it took 3 people to take or at least 2 people to take the fucking mining equipment out.
Yeah.
And one of the things is like, it fell or he dropped it on his head. It's like there's a lot
Well,
of
shit,
force.
he picked it up.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
my
what?
ass. So okay, let's start with your favorite, and then we'll
Okay.
go into that one, and we'll go into probably Ape Canyon
Oh, I love Ape Canyon.
and
So-
some other ones.
So Theodore Roosevelt, my favorite president, I highly suggest it. Buy it. It's called The Wilderness Guide. It has a lot of things in here, and one of them in here,
Who buys physical books anymore?
people who like to have history. I like hard copies. So he goes into a bunch of things like big game, like moose, how to hunt moose, all that, hunting with hounds, horses, rifles, anything. And there's a small bit in the book where he talks to an old mountain man. Like, legit, he was a fur trapper. That's all he did. And so he talked, and by the time Roosevelt talks to him, he's an old fucking man. And this happened when he was young.
So do you have a timeline? So this book was written in 1902?
Yep.
So, okay, we'll call it 1902 is when the story was recorded.
Yeah, and let's see. I think it tells...
I mean, let's call an old fucking man in 1902 is probably 60? 70? So, we're talking about an 1830s story?
It could be 50, right?
Okay, so we'll call it 1850 to 1830. This dude lived through the Civil War. Alright, we'll call it that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you need to know.
I don't know if it ever tells Ballman's name. That's the guy. It's called the Ballman story. If you ever wanted to read it yourself. So basically, this man Ballman and his buddy go out, and they're gonna hunt beavers. Beaver pelt was it was the biggest commodity America had. And so basically, what they do, they let their horses out in this field just to graze, and while they're doing their stuff, and they hike in. And they just get trapped, their camp started and all that, and they see these footprints. And the first thing they think is bear. They're in bear country. They're like, hey, keep your weapons ready. We're in bear country. And his friend goes and takes another look at him, comes back down. It's nighttime. And he sits the first time. And all he tells Ballman is, like, Ballman, that bear's been walking on 2 legs. And if you didn't know, bears can do what's called a double step. And it looks like a human footprint when they do this. It's very rare. It only happens when they're running and when they're turning. That's it. And they can never consistently do it. And so they look...
Hang on. So a double step, since he mentioned it, is when the front paw of a bear, the print left, is then stepped over by the back paw, making it look elongated. So that's a double step, and a lot of people are saying like that's what Bigfoot footprints are.
But
is this double step done by bears?
Yeah. But they can only have it happens in very even bear experts double step. Like you get 2 in a row, that's like a very very low chance of ever happening. They've never seen a double step in a row because it only happens mostly when they're turning and when they're at full sprint.
They're chasing prey.
Yeah, And so they do their traps. And these are 2 mountain men. They've seen the wind. They're not scared of bears. So they're going
they're scared of bears.
Scared of bears. Have you seen The Revenant?
Well, if they're mountain men, then they're scared of bears.
Not in the sense that we are. Like, they've seen bears.
No, they're probably more terrified than we will ever be. Because they know.
They've seen some shit.
Well, here's the thing. They can take care of them.
They're not a moose. You ever seen a fucking moose? Yeah. You ever seen a bear eat a fucking moose? Yeah, you'd be scared of bears too, motherfucker.
I've seen an orca eat a moose. How about that?
You ever seen a bison? You seen a bear eat a bison?
You've seen an asshole for... So basically, these guys, they're not afraid to go by themselves.
They're afraid of the wilderness.
They start to not, leave each other. They start to go pick traps together, and something's ripping these traps out.
So there's another thing. Something is coming into camp at night.
Yeah.
Their pots and pans are being knocked over. Their camp is being rummaged through.
The biggest thing was...
You ever heard of raccoon?
Well, here's the biggest thing. Is what they saw.
Raccoon. Never mind.
So, Ballman wakes up and he sees this figure standing over them, over their tent, and he lets out a shot. He doesn't know he didn't think he hit it. Because, he's scared shit. He might have hit right into his friend's foot. He doesn't know. It runs off. And he goes, it noticeably sounds like a man running. It's dum, dum, dum. And it's crashing through the... He goes, any man would have ran through that woods without a torch, would have fell, rolled. He goes, this thing it ran through brambles and briars like it was nothing, like it belongs there.
So then they're checking traps together.
After this, they're scared shitless. They're like, hey, we're getting this trap and we're leaving. We don't know what this is. We're leaving. So they go, and they're getting traps together. They go back to camp, and Baldwin's like, hey, we have 3 traps left. Stay here, pack up. I'm going to go get them real quick. He says, fine, take a gun.
I thought his partner said that he wanted to catch the thing. He was like, look, I'm staying here to...
No, different story.
Okay, different story.
But basically, he's like, all right. So he's like, you pack up, we're going to leave as soon as I get back. He goes, Baldwin, it takes him a while, because he feels like he's being watched or followed. Mm-hmm. And he goes, by the time he notices the sun's getting real low, he goes, I gotta hurry. He gets back to camp, and there's his buddy just sitting on the stump. And he's yelling out to him, like, hey, hurry up. And then he gets to him, and his head ain't how it's supposed to be. You know how our heads are like this? Well, his neck is kind of all fucked up and broken and twisted, and he's got fang marks in his neck and shoulder.
But he's not eating.
No, he's not eating. And he's left like he's just sitting there slumped over the fire. And Ballman's like, that ain't fucking bear. And he leaves his fur, his beaver pelt, his camping shit.
I'm getting the fuck out.
Only thing he takes is what is on his back and his rifle, and he fucking loads it and he runs. Leaves his dead friend, and he goes back to where the horses are. And this time he goes, I'd never stopped running. He goes, because I didn't know if I was next. Could be following, didn't know. Gets the horses, goes, leaves. Never goes back. He retires being a fucking beaver trapper.
Yep.
And then he's old, tells Roosevelt this story, and Roosevelt, kind of notorious guy for calling out bullshit. He likes to call out a bullshitter, just for funsies.
Okay.
And Roosevelt's like, I've never seen a man more scared in his life, and we were inside.
That's kind of the compelling part, and we'll get into the... so I'm always the most compelled by eyewitness testimony when you can see the fear. Because let's face it, I don't know that I said when we started this that I believed in Bigfoot. If I really believed that an 8-foot-tall, 1,000-pound ape man was walking around in the woods, I probably wouldn't be taking you two into the woods.
I wouldn't go hunting.
Yeah.
I love hunting.
If I actually believed it, for 100% fact, I wouldn't be going. There's a mystery to it. But
I ain't fucking Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. And it's those people especially, and you see them every now and then. Not every witness has it. But I always find the people who, when they tell this story, you can see the fear. Or the people who were like, I was an avid hunter since I was 10 years old, and since that day, I haven't stepped in the woods. And I won't, ever again. So, the story I'm going to follow that one up with is, I can't remember where I saw it, but this fellow was a hiker. And he's in his early 20s. And he goes out camping and hiking all the time. I can't remember his name, but you'll recognize the story when I tell you. He will. Why not? But so he's out there and he's camping for a few days, and he's got cast iron cookware and stuff, or not cast iron, just camping cookware. And he's camping by a riverbed. And one night he's sitting there and he had just cleaned up, and he's got his pans all kind of neatly stacked and his bags hanging in a tree like you're supposed to do to keep critters from getting your foodstuffs. And he had left his pans down by the creek where he was washing them out and keeping them. He's laying in bed, and all of a sudden he starts hearing the clanging of his pots. And he kind of brushes it off, thinking it's just a coon. Then he starts hearing, this is the way he describes it. And so now he's nervous, and he builds up his courage. And again, this is somebody who's...
Point here, only thing that grunts and stuff in the woods is usually a bear. To most people, it's like you hear grunting and wet panting, assume bear, and that's going to scare anybody.
Yeah. So, and he's got this big floodlight that he keeps in his tent with him. So he unzips his tent, and he can kind of vaguely make out this large shape by the creek bed. And he turns it on and just lights this thing up, which immediately turns back and looks at him. And he describes the stereotypical, like, this is a huge, broad, half-ape, half-man creature that immediately bolts across the river. But it crosses this creek. It crosses this creek in like 3 steps and is gone. Just vanishes from the floodlight, from anything. Never hears another sound from it. And when he's telling this story, so he's an old man when he's telling the story, and he's sitting on the porch, and he's an old man in a rocking chair, and you can see his eyes are this wide. He's like, I've never been back. Never. And those are the compelling ones.
Dude saw a fucking bear.
I mean, if it was a bear, this dude, again, he was an avid outdoorsman. He probably would have known a bear, and walking across a creek, a bear ain't walking on 2 legs. And clearing it in 3 strides.
A bear? No, you'd be shocked how quick bears are.
Oh yeah, bears. You're never.
I'm not saying they're not fast. I'm saying it's on 2 legs.
I want to be
bear is not walking across the creek.
But I'm saying a fucking bear is significantly going to be faster than anything
on 2 legs.
2 feet. Yeah, it's going to be
bear.
No,
a bear on 2 feet.
Yeah, you probably didn't see it on 2 feet.
No, he said he saw it on 2 feet.
Yeah, I think he's full of shit.
So you do have to take into account
to be in perspective. Bears.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was scared shitless.
Bears can chase down cars.
Well, here's my thing.
35.
So, is that the end of the story?
That's the end of his, yeah.
Okay, so here's my thing with eyewitness testimony. Is that when we're scared, because we're humans, we make shit up.
Yeah, the
boogeyman becomes real.
Our mind,
your brain fills in the blanks,
and our brain only contemplates fucking clips of what we actually saw, and so we just kind of mesh it together.
So that kind of brings up a different point, which is going to be. But you've heard of the uncanny valley. So if people are seeing bears, and then they're recalling it as some humanoid creature, why is that? Why are we way more scared of some humanoid than a bear?
There's a theory. The reason we see human faces and stuff in objects is because we were hunted by humanoids way back when. It's why we're scared of giant hawks and stuff, because we were once hunted by Argentavis.
Yeah.
We were hunted by birds. Why we're scared of snakes, alligators, anything really bigger than us.
Well, I don't think humans know. There's only a few innate fears. It's heights, the dark, which is just, that's cats. That's big cat's fucking fault.
Well, because we can't see in the dark. We're at a disadvantage.
No, it's because saber-toothed cats used to pluck people from the fucking fire in the middle of the night.
I'll go into two. I know the Ape Canyon one, and I know one that happened at Ape Canyon years later. Like decades later.
Do the Ape Canyon traditional one before.
Oh, I love this one. I actually do love this story.
You guys know more about Bigfoot than I ever thought you did.
I know a lot about
Ape
Bigfoot.
Canyon's pretty popular.
First, for reference, the reason Mount St. Helen up in Washington, Oregon, there's a canyon called Ape Canyon. This is why.
It's called
Back in early 1900s, I believe, maybe even in the 1890s, something like that. Back when gold was really big back then. These guys, these bunch of groups of men, and one of the guys,
they were gold prospectors.
Yeah,
right.
And they go, and they basically find on a ridge. They build a cabin. They build a cabin.
1924.
Thank you. So they go, they build this cabin. They're just gonna do gold. They all have jobs, and at first, each of them think. So the first thing they see is by the river is these footprints. It looked like something walked.
It's always the footprints first, man.
They thought something walked up on the shore, and then walked back into the water. And they didn't know what it was. They thought bear. First thing they thought, bear. And then because they would spread out, everyone go do your own thing, do your chores and stuff like that when you're not panning for gold. And each of them were hearing things in the bush, and they thought it was just everyone else messing with them and all that. And then one day, it starts getting worse and worse, and then everyone's on edge. And so they need water. And this is back before you had to go and get your own fucking water.
Yeah,
so,
potable water was not.
And it was like the guy goes, because the sun's getting low. He goes, all right, let's go get water. He goes, hey, come with me, bring a gun, just in case. They go, they get water, and this guy goes, holy shit, look! And on the opposite ridge, they see this figure running down towards them.
I thought it was 3 or 4. Or did
That's
they only
later.
See the
That's
wall?
later.
Yeah, okay.
So they see this figure running down towards them on 2 legs, breaking branches, breaking trees, making a hoopla. So he raises his rifle and he shoots.
How far away?
I can't remember how far the ridge was.
I mean,
far,
so it's
close,
1924, and he was taking a shot at it.
So he probably had more than likely a 30-30 maybe. So I don't know. I can't remember how far the ridge, but if you see Ape Canyon, the ridges ain't that far.
Well, and they found the camp, or what is suspected to be the actual.
Yeah, they found
because it's dated to the appropriate time period.
Yeah, they found tools and not tools, but nails,
prospecting tools and
nails and stuff. And it's in the exact area they said it was going to be. They never told anyone where the camp was, and afterwards, this newspaper said this is the cabin, and one of the guys goes, "That's not the fucking cabin. Yeah, that's not it."
Right.
Well, they're not gonna fucking admit that that's the cabin.
Well, it was clearly not the cabin because it didn't match any of the area, and so they see this figure running towards them. So this guy raises his rifle, take a shot. First shot in the dirt. He goes, "Fuck." Cycles another one. Boom, in the tree. And at this thing goes from running towards them to running lateral away from them. He's running lateral down the fucking ridge. He shoots one more time, hits another tree. He goes, all right, get back to camp.
So that's pretty close if you can tell that he's hitting trees.
Yeah, you can see the dirt and you can see the bark go. So they run back to camp. Fuck the water at this point.
I'll die.
They get back to camp, and the first thing someone asked them was like, what the hell were you shooting at? This, that, and the other. And they said, go to bed. Everyone go to bed. We'll talk about this in the morning.
Fucking sleep after that.
And so, the biggest thing, so they had one more member, but he left early because he had a very bad mouth problem. His tooth was fucked up, and the guy says, neither God nor devil could get me off this mountain, because they were finding a good amount of gold. That came back to bite him in the ass. Because, when they're in their cabin, they hear something hit the cabin.
Yeah, it's like
they hear rocks. They hear rocks. And so people say, they throw boulders. The guy goes, they were no bigger than a baseball. We could throw them. But they were just hitting the cabin. Enough to hit, the shingling and wooden, cabins. It's moss and stuff. It's knocking shingling off. and they could see through the cracks, and all they see is 3 or 4 of these things running to and from the tree line, slapping the cabin, and all that. They're like, oh shit.
All the while that other rocks are falling. So they see 3 or 4, and then something has to be above them throwing the rocks down.
Yeah.
And what's important about that is there is one creature on this entire planet that throws shit. It's primates.
Yeah, primates can do it. And so
It's not one creature, I guess.
they start shooting through the slots now, that because the shingling's gone, they can see. They start shooting when the creatures are throwing rocks, coming up, hitting the cabin. And they barricade the door. And at one point, through the shingling, because they've made a huge dent now, there's an axe sitting on the table. They see
Not
it.
through the shingling, through the door.
No, it's just through like the wall. There's a huge hole now. They see there's an axe on the table. A hand reaches in, grabs the axe. One of the guys, fast enough, turns the axe. So that way it's just hitting against. And the other guy shoots. Doesn't hit the creature. It just makes it let go. It runs back. And so the main guy who said, neither God nor the devil could get me off this, starts singing. He starts fucking singing. In the middle of bullets and everything, he's mountain devils, leave us alone. He starts singing. He goes, if you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. Mountain devils, go fucking home. And they would only shoot.
Did you make that up? Or
No, that's an actual quote that he started singing.
It'd have been funnier if you made it up.
But he
On a
would.
whim.
So they would only shoot whenever these things came towards the cabin. And this happens all day. And once day comes, they hear just everything take off. They hear it coming through and then they leave everything. They just take the fucking bits of gold they have that they want to take that's not too heavy, their fucking rifles, and they leave what equivalent was like $1,000 in equipment.
In 1924.
So that's a lot.
And you never go back.
And then and the biggest thing was when they leave, apparently one of these creatures stepped out into the open over the ridge. They shot, it fell over the ridge, and that's how the ridge got its name, Ape Canyon.
This is a story.
No one made money.
Men,
No one made money.
You don't have to make money. Old men bullshit to bullshit, man. Old men just bullshit to bullshit.
So the only thing that I could say why these people would lie is they found a good amount of gold.
But then they never went back.
They want to keep motherfuckers away from it.
But if your whole thing was
I'm never going back, and I go back and go, no.
Well, none of them to this day, like none of them went back.
I don't know. That was the fucking 1920s.
Yeah, they're dead.
Their family could tell you they never went back.
That's true.
They're like, no one's been back. They wouldn't tell anyone where the cabin stuff was.
This was a highly publicized story at the time too.
Yeah,
like
they had people all over that area.
I can't get over it. You're gonna have to remember that song, Mountain Devils, leave us alone.
I think I have. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. But I have another. If you have another, I have another Ape Canyon story that has to do with a death.
I don't know about another ape. I don't know.
1920s. I'm just trying to think what that could be.
In the Oregon mountains.
Okay, well, I was thinking first, if it was the early 1800s in Oregon, it could have been natives.
Yeah, in Indians.
It could have been natives. Just honestly.
Well, so when they see when they describe the hand, do you remember the description of the hand? Because it's not human.
Yeah, it's a very large, first of all, forearm. Looked like fucking Popeye the Sailor Man. Just went. The hand's really long, and
that's the thing. Supposedly these creatures can be very territorial, aggressive. Because this isn't the only.
Well, if there's a fuck ton, why didn't we just go back?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if these people are saying 30 of them or however many they see, and then there's however many more, why don't we just set up a tower in there?
So I don't know if you recall, but Mount St. Helens kind of went kablooey.
And it does that quite often.
And
that's true.
So we're suspecting that they either left or got kablooied.
Oh, that's why this is the perfect fucking
No,
Bigfoot
this
story.
isn't the only one. This isn't the only one.
Dang it. Why? Why did God have to blow up that mountain? We could put this all up.
There are tons and tons of stories of families of Bigfoots. There's really some weird ones out there. I recall a story about a dude who fell out of a deer stand and wakes up being titty fed by a Bigfoot. I kid you not. There's some weird dudes out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So this is the next
basically
one.
Tarzan, except it's a grown ass man.
There's another story that's infamous with Ape Canyon, and it's pretty much has to do with a death. And so it's a skier named Jim Carter. And
After this, we're going to tell the Alaska one.
he was a very experienced skier. Like, he skied all the time. And he was also a photographer. And so it's called, they called it the Dog's Leg, is the area he was going to go in. But everyone was taking a little break. They're getting their stuff together. He goes, hey, I'm going to go down to the Dog's Leg, and I'm going to film you guys when you ski down. Make a cool shot. That's all he wanted. He was a photographer and all that. That's what he did. And they said, oh, yeah, that's really cool. So they go, and they're around 15 minutes. That's it. It's like, oh, man, he's probably getting mad that we're not down there. Let's go real quick. And they ski down. They let him, they holler or whatever. They ski down. He's not there.
Because he did.
He disappeared. And eventually they found his ski tracks. Motherfucker was booking it. Like, he was booking it down the hill, and he was jumping crevices. But they don't know why. He goes, there's no reason for this experienced skier to take these huge risks that could get him killed. And eventually, they go off a cliff, basically. They go down into a crevice, and like, he didn't make it. They could see from the other end his skis did not.
He never landed.
And they go, he's somewhere down there. They searched up and down that whole area. They're like, we can't find him. He's gone. And the speculation, like, they don't know what caused him to all of a sudden freak out. Something had to chase him off the mountain, is what the sheriff and them said. Something had to chase him off the mountain for him to take these risks, and it had to be something significant for him to just go. And it's snowing. There ain't no bears at the time. All the bears are fucking hibernating. He goes, they're like, we don't know. He just chalked it up to something got to him, and he just had to get the fuck out of there. And he was jumping like 15, 20 feet crevices, which is hard to do with no ramp. And he was just taking the risk because he just wanted to get away.
Whatever it was scared him so bad that he was like, fuck it, I'll die. Like,
and to this day, I don't think he's ever been.
How do we know he was scared?
You can, because first of all, the speed you have to do to jump a 20-foot crevice.
Hey, he's just a fucking thrill guy.
Adrenaline junkie.
This dude was trying to capture. I don't know.
Did they find footprints or anything chasing him?
You didn't know if it was a bear.
Let me see.
You ever seen a bear run through like several feet of snow?
Hibernating, though.
But
yeah,
so
I'm saying you'd have known if it was a bear.
The problem is, like, his friends
Bears
are like,
do wake up during hibernation, and they often wake up pissed.
Well, no, I'm saying that, like, if you've ever seen a bear tracks through snow, it's not just the footprints; it's like the whole body.
Yeah.
So if he was chasing them at 25 miles an hour, like, you'd know, like, you'd see the bear tracks.
That alone's fucking terrifying. Can you imagine this creature can run 25, 35 miles an hour?
Through snow? Yeah.
We're screwed then. Like, that's just... we should talk... That reminds me, we should talk about Dyatlov Pass. The Dyatlov incident.
I don't like the Dyatlov Pass one.
You don't have to like it.
Mostly because I watched the mockumentary that they did of it, and a lot of it really doesn't make sense. Mostly because...
Dude, a bunch of college kids wind up dead and fucking...
Well,
I don't know.
The problem is, most of the time...
Suddenly I care.
Yeah, it's like, they're the commies.
Hang on, I gotta take a lead. Tell the Alaska story then.
I'll tell the Portlock story. So, Alaska, during the time of this story, was just being basically settled full of ports. You have Port Chatham, Portlock, Anchorage, and stuff's just becoming a thing. And there's a thing called Portlock. And they were a booming town. They were a fishery, they had a cannery, lumber yard. They were booming. They're pretty successful. Then these deaths start happening, and they're pretty gruesome. But nothing's eating the people. It's just mangling them. Like, they're finding body parts in the cove. Just.
So what's the first thing you think?
Well,
Bear.
The problem is nothing's eating them.
Just because it doesn't eat them all doesn't mean it's not eating
Yeah, so bears, kill out of self-defense all the time. But the number of people that were getting killed, kind of suspicious that bear would just...
It could just be an easy meal to them, bro.
They weren't eating. But they found whole hunters just... basically, like, their skull smashed.
That's the thing.
Well, that's easy to do if you're a bear.
Yeah, so a bear, it's easy to do.
Well, and you also have to figure this is Alaska.
Yeah, so...
Alaska bears be a different breed.
Yeah, like
the polar bears are a different...
Well, there's no polar bears. There's only grizzlies.
Yeah, this is far enough south on Alaska. Like, if I showed you a map, this is closer to Canada than... Thank you.
So this... the biggest grizzly bear was, like, 12 feet tall, and it was killed in Alaska. Like, grizzlies get big. There's probably bigger grizzlies that we've never seen in parts of Alaska no man has ever seen.
Well, and then polar bears are a whole...
And then you get growler bears, the size of grizzlies with the mentality of polar. People are going to start dying.
Yeah. Thanks, climate change.
So basically, and I told you the biggest one was this person got their head beat in by heavy mining equipment. Took two men to take it out. And they knew that's what caused his death because his brain was still on the mining equipment.
And there was multiple. So this is a town full, I believe it was still gold prospectors.
I was more than they had a cannery, they had a fishery, they had a lumber yard.
Oh, that's right.
It was a booming town by the time these deaths started happening, and everyone left. They said, "Fuck this, we're leaving."
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time people have left Portlock. The British left Portlock back during the colonial age for the same reason.
Some kept killing them.
Some kept killing them in the same gruesome ways. Heads twisted. One person was described to being squished to death, which a bear can do. If it lays on you, it's 1,000 pounds or more bear.
But a bear typically
Doesn't just go on you. They usually,
although that would be hilarious.
they kind of take their paw and go balls to brains up.
Well, let me just tell you probably why the British left, because they left a bunch of different ports for a bunch of reasons. So I don't know if you've ever been to England, but I want you to imagine you're like a highborn English lad.
Cold sucks.
And you became a sailor. And then, their reward for you being a naval officer is you're going to be the fucking governor of a town in fucking Alaska.
Yeah.
And I want you to imagine that you've never had to wipe your own ass.
Let alone see
And
snow.
suddenly, it's -5.
And you're
And
talking
dark
about
all
fucking
day.
a penguin for warmth. So not only do you have to do that,
But
then
people are dying.
around you are also that same, they're not used to this fucking environment. That's why a lot of people from Alaska, they were like Swedish, they were like Norse immigrants.
Also, people started to
Don't
die.
get me wrong, England's cold. Like, England can be freezing cold, but Alaska is its own animal.
Special breed of
Same
hell.
with like northern Canada. Like, there's a reason no one lives there.
Well, it's the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. So,
Just guess you
so I'm
won't.
just saying, like, second people start dying, and you're like, oh well,
Excuse, yay!
I'm out.
Oh no!
It's a really. I don't think we're doing the story justice.
So why do
But
they think it's Bigfoot?
The Indians, the indigenous people think it's
Yeah.
Bigfoot because they have their own legends and stuff.
Because it's basically the natives knew not to be going around there.
Yeah, so the
Which
natives,
is kind of the same thing. So you have stories of Mount St. Helens where the
native-
Sierra
yeah.
Sounds are.
the natives basically told you guys
Great
like
Canyon is. I'm sorry.
they basically say, hey, we don't fucking go that way. Like there's an old thing in basically up in Alaska where if like you hear a roar, you leave your fucking fish because you didn't want to take
It's
your
an
fish.
offering now.
Yeah, you're supposed to leave the offering. If you didn't leave the offering, it was gonna get you. It may be a
And they
boogeyman
actually
story.
they call them.
Kushtaka.
Is it Kushtaka?
It's Kushtaka.
I know there's a bunch of different stories, but I've heard stories about Alaskan giants, which are large man-like creatures that eat men.
Yeah, so here's the funny part. There's a thing called the Alaskan Triangle where more people go missing there than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, but you kind of have to ignore that.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's Alaska. Like, there's a
it's
lot of things that
huge.
cause...
Who's gonna go searching for him?
Well, no. So at one point, like a nuke got lost there.
Oh.
Like, it's not just people, but anyone who marches into the Alaska Triangle. Like when you see it mapped out, there's a whole lot of crap. Nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
so
you ain't
it's
going
basically
nowhere.
what?
You're-
Anchorage
To Juneau.
to Juneau and then to another one. And
Yeah.
it covers a quarter of Alaska.
Yeah, it's just this huge place
And basically-
where no one fucking goes anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Like-
nothing but indigenous people in between.
Yeah, it's igloos.
That's what, what? Fuck off, people.
God damn it.
But, it's basically those fucking people. And the whalers on
But
there.
there is a bunch, and there are a lot of monster stories in Alaska. Like, so there's the Amarok.
There's the fucking otter man.
I haven't heard about the otter man.
Oh, he's
the
picture Bigfoot but an otter.
That sounds adorable.
No
Well,
way.
so Bigfoot has been sighted a lot in Alaska, and especially Canada. And that's the main reason I believe they could exist without being found, is if you just look at look at the population density in Canada.
No,
Fucking no one lives in 99% of Canada.
No, you can go in Alaska, look at a moose, you will be the last human ever to see that moose alive.
Yeah.
You throw a rock in Alaska, you're the last human in existence until the earth goes from the sun exploding to touch that fucking rock. That's how nothing Alaska we've never discovered. There are parts of Alaska that no human ever, since the fucking way back when we first got here, has seen that parts of Alaska. That's how big and unexplored Alaska. It's literally it's called the last frontier for a good reason.
I thought space was the last frontier.
Space is the last frontier. Nick's fucking stupid.
Literally Alaska. It's literally called
the final frontier.
Is it the final frontier?
I mean, so physical, like on Earth frontier. It's super.
Yeah, there's a reason people
Canada
live. There's a reason people live on the coast because it's pretty
Antarctica.
much it's a frozen hellscape. Yeah, okay. Antarctica is a little different because we have fucking bases in there.
We have bases in Alaska too.
Well, you can actually.
Antarctica's a whole fucking continent.
More people are in the north in the Arctic Circle than in the south. Like nobody lives in the South Pole. They have bases that they have to rotate people.
And there's only like 150 tops.
And they're mostly on the coast.
No, they're all mostly in one base.
Fair enough. But like Alaska's mostly like coastal areas. It's like
that's true.
Like other than indigenous,
Juneau's in the
top.
It's not in the center, but it is probably the closest major city to the center. Like Juneau is where Balto took the.
Yeah, basically. So think about this, like
No, it's not Balto. What's his name? The real name. Togo. Balto's who gets all the credit.
I love Balto.
He's one of the legs. Togo
did the hero.
Yeah, did the most of the fucking leg work.
I didn't cry when I watched Old Yeller Dog. I cried when I watched Togo. When that dog died of old age, I was like,
I cried Fox of the Hound.
Yeah. Anyway.
I wouldn't bop that dog.
That's saying something.
Yeah, they don't even know, but it is. It does say.
But there's a lot of stories.
There are tons, and you could find them, and really they go throughout history. But the real intriguing ones, obviously, have been the more recent.
Well, it's because
Joe.
I got
stories.
I got one from Vietnam.
Well,
we'll do the Diablo because Diablo is pretty.
Okay, so let's think of the different. So I would speculate that this is a physical creature, and as a physical creature, probably exists in one form or another throughout the globe.
Yeah, this is a physical being.
And we're going to cover some of the cases from around, mostly in Asia. Mostly on the Asian continent.
So, Vietnam. We all know Vietnam, and we fought there and all that. And
Not me personally.
You're never too young to have Vietnam flashbacks. I'll die on that hill.
You might have to.
You know, I saw a dude today, and he had a Vietnam veteran hat. And I mentioned to him, like, hey man, thank you for your service. And he said, yeah, I may be 87 years old, but I'm never too young to whip a young man's ass.
I just noticed
I was like, wow.
Noticed your hat.
This dude at one point was more badass than I'll ever be.
Yeah.
I just noticed your hat said it's a god.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's hilarious. Huh. So, weirdly enough, when U.S. GIs came back, they started telling these stories of these ape men.
Oh, I do know this story.
They called them the rock apes because
they throw rocks.
Yeah. So one of the biggest one was basically this platoon or this small little gaggle of fucks. Basically, they were marching through the forest like you normally do.
Those are our veterans, and they deserve respect.
They're dead now, more likely.
Wow.
But these gaggles. They were walking like you normally do, hoping not to get shot.
Looking for Charlie.
Yeah, basically hoping not to, hoping to go home on two legs. And all of a sudden, some motherfucker yells out, contact, and everyone goes, fuck, hits deck, bullets start hailing. And all of a sudden, they're in a firefight, and all of a sudden they hear this roar. And they're like, what the fuck is that? And then they see this thing running through the jungle. And all of a sudden, these Vietnam soldiers stop shooting and start screaming. And what I can only imagine is, holy fuck! They start screaming, they start screaming a name. And they start booking it out of there. And
You're talking about the actual, Vietnamese.
Yeah, the Viet Cong. Them bad
BC.
motherfuckers. Yeah. And they start running. And the GI said the sounds you hear when someone's being torn apart is awful. Because you can never imagine it. But these people, because you can hear them rip. You can hear it rip. Like they said, you can hear it ripping. You can hear people screaming. And he goes, and when it ceased, it kept running.
The pop of the arm cut,
He goes, whatever it is, kept chasing them. Kept chasing the Viet Cong as they left.
Bigfoot hates communism.
And the GIs walked over to where the Viet Cong were.
Now he has to die.
And then they saw them. They saw the mangled corpses of the VC, and they're like, turn around, go home. They leave. They fucking hightail it. And when they set up base camp, they set claymores around the perimeter, just in case.
And you have to, so you also take into consideration, this is Vietnam era people. They've seen people burned alive by napalm.
Yeah, they've seen some shit. And to them,
they've been exposed to Agent Orange.
like, they're like, alright, Viet Cong we can handle. We can't handle whatever the hell that, they didn't know what it was. Like, we don't know what that is. Something hits the claymore. They go, they look, they see this dead ape. They're like, oh. You know, to them, it's like, it could be orangutan, it could be whatever. You know, we don't know all the primates out there. Like, okay. They leave. And they go back to base, and they start hearing this wailing. Something like crying. They're like, oh fuck. And they're like, it was just in the direction of where they left the body. And they said, alright, we're just going to keep moving as quietly as we can. And no one say a fucking word. They leave, and they tell their commander, and their commander goes, I want you to know this will never, be told to the higher ups because they'll think you're fucking crazy here. And there's countless stories about Vietnam with these people. Like USGIs tell stories of encountering and having engagements with rockmen. And the biggest one is, I can't remember the hills. It's hill something, and it's these Marines. And they cut back the tree line that you do, so you have a killing field. And all of a sudden, one of these rock apes came out into the field. And the first thing the guy does, fucking private, goes, oh, shoots it.
As you do.
Next thing you know, 15 more come out. And they said, get the machine guns ready. And they just start raining hellfire onto them. And these things are just running towards them. And eventually, they lose, and they start dragging the dead rock apes back. And they're like, what the fuck just happened? They're expecting Viet Cong. Viet Cong were supposed to be in there like, what the hell? They go and they, braver men than me. A few days after, they go and explore. They just find mangled VC everywhere. They're like, oh, well, there's the Viet Cong we were supposed to encounter. And basically, the villagers, they go to villages and they be like, yeah, we don't fuck with them. We give them offerings because we don't like that.
Well, that's something you'll find throughout the literature. No, not the literature. The tales is people respect and fear these creatures. Like if Bigfoots are on the mountain, you don't climb the fucking mountain. You don't go near it. You just stay away.
As I said, the biggest thing is like if you saw, I think it's in Nepal. If you see a Yeti on the mountain, you gave them something,
like a yak.
Like you gave them something as an offering, and usually they're not talked about as violent up in the Nepal. They just don't want to be fucked with usually.
Well, so there's two different kinds of Yeti. Like there's two different descriptions of them, and one is like this quasi-spiritual creature who guards the entrance to Shangri-La. Like it is a much more Native American-esque figure, where it's like Bigfoot to Native Americans was like this guardian of the wilderness.
So like
and then there's the Yeti that fucking tears you limb from limb, and will eat your yak neck first. Like it's.
But I think we all know the story. I think maybe why it doesn't. The monk, gets hurt on the mountain, gets rescued and healed by Yetis, and he makes a friendship with them. Heals one. Yeah, Wide's face tells it all. I'm like, I don't know if I believe that, but they have the skull or the hair.
They have a skull cap.
They have a skull cap.
You're gonna see it in the mockumentary.
And like the hand of what it is. And it's clearly like a hand. It looks like a human hand. I think one British explorer, doing what the British do best, stole a finger bone and replaced it with a chicken. Got it tested, and it came back human. He took some hair, and it came back. It's a very rare breed of bear. Like it's very you don't see.
Yeah,
them.
I think it's like a sun ape, right?
It's some bear. It's very rare.
Sun bear.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's brownish.
I'm sorry, I said sun ape, didn't I?
Yeah, it's brown. It's a very rare, and it only lives high up. That's it.
And they are very violent.
Yeah. So
again, these are from like Nepal area, so they're used to fighting tigers. So anything that's small in that area,
so like if you
has to be mean.
Yeah, so like people will tell you like the scariest thing in India ain't tigers, it's sun bears, because sun bears They can't run, they can't outclimb tigers, so their only option is to fight, and they go for face and throat first. They kill more people than any bear ever in the year.
Yeah.
Like
well, it's because normally when something's sneaking up on them, it is a fucking tiger.
That's the thing. Like the biggest thing is like you're only as good as the company you keep, and their only option is to fight back, and like you'll just walk upon one and it immediately goes into fight mode.
I'm imagining like a badger, an American badger, not the classy English badger, the mean fucker.
Honey badger don't give a fuck. But
okay, so I guess we've got Dyatlov last.
Yep.
So I didn't know there was a mockumentary made of it. Is that what I'm thinking of, where it's got the actual photos?
Yeah,
from
the photo of
expedition?
that's a whole mockumentary. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the mockumentary.
So we're not going to talk about the mockumentary photos then. Which honestly, there wasn't much there.
It's just
it's just vague enough, you know.
Yeah, it's something in the tree line you can see.
Yeah. So basically, the Dyatlov incident is a group of Ukrainian college students that go camping in the Ural Mountains, or they're going to hike up the Ural Mountains.
Yeah. So for one of them, I think, because they're students, to get fully certified as an expert hiker, you had to climb a known expert route. And then they chose Dyatlov Pass. It's just to get their final certification as experts.
It's only one of them that's going for the expert, right? Or is it all of them?
I think one mainly wants to do it, but all of them are like, oh, we'll tag along.
It's a group of 9.
Yeah, it's like 9. I think it was a group of 10. One left early because he had family issues. He had to go back.
And so you have to keep in mind that this isn't the Ural Mountains. They don't. Well, no, the natives there had stories about an ape man, didn't they? Because that's why they didn't. Again, you didn't go near the fucking mountain you're trying to climb, because his ape man lived there. Anyway, so these college kids all go up, and it's how long? Gosh, I want to say it's a couple weeks. And their last contact was with a native tribe in the Ural Mountains, which are, reindeer farmers, you know, and they go missing, and eventually they send out a search party, right?
I'm reading. You can keep talking.
Eventually they end up sending out a search party, and they find the camp. And it's all torn apart, and none of the bodies are there. So they start inspecting, and what they find, a couple of things are really interesting.
Yeah, so I got it. So they were grade 2 skiers, and they were trying to become grade 3. So they had to do the Ural Mountain Pass to become grade 3. That's the highest ranking hiker you can be. And they were all college kids at the time. 109 miles is how long they were going to do it. Yeah. 190 miles. 300 kilometers.
So they find the camp, and again, it's just torn to shreds. So they start, and what's really puzzling is there's a lot of gear left in the tents. Shoes, clothes, basically everything they brought with them. And then they investigate a little bit further, and so these tents are in tatters, right? Well, so they look at some of them, and they find that the way they were cut, it's not cut from the outside. They're cut from the inside. Like, they literally cut their way out of these tents to presumably escape something that was in the tent. So none of the bodies are there. They go searching. Well, they find all of them, don't they?
Yeah, they find all of them. It takes longer. So, hold on. I'll say this.
Some of them had frozen to death because
six of the 9 froze to death. 3 died of fatal injuries, and it was like blunt force trauma.
Yeah, so that's where it's going to get interesting. So the 6 that die of being frozen to death, I think there's a couple of them that are interesting because they don't. Dying of hypothermia in the Ural Mountains is not uncommon. But where they die of hypothermia. So, I think they found one up a tree, didn't it?
Yeah, one tried to climb up a tree.
They climbed up a tree and died of hypothermia in the tree. So, what were they trying to get rid of? Or get away from? And then the other ones were... one had his whole chest caved in.
Yeah, well, he was described as squeezed to death. Like
his torso was just popped like a toothpaste bottle. It was... crazy. And then one had their tongue ripped out.
Eyes, tongue, and lips removed.
So the eyes isn't that uncommon given how long it took to find them, except that they were buried under snow. So the birds weren't getting at them. brutally murdered is at least 3 of them. And so the running theory for a while was an avalanche, except there's no evidence of an avalanche. And you can't outrun an avalanche. And these people made it pretty far from camp. If they saw the avalanche coming...
did they just scatter?
No, they all bolted, and they bolted with nothing but what they had on. Which
literally
in the same direction. Did they find all the bodies? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did they
roughly?
Back?
I think they split up at one point. They were found not too
their
far
bodies
from.
are spread apart.
Okay.
Not too far from each other.
In their skivvies, barefoot.
Yeah.
Middle of the night.
So the Russians concluded that a compelling force killed them. That's all they really was. Compelling force.
That's some horseshit.
My biggest issue, so one of the theories was that the Mansi, which is the reindeer herders, killed them for being in their land.
Because they basically encounter the Mansi, and the Mansi tell them, don't go up that mountain.
And so a bunch of Mansis were basically kidnapped and tortured and interrogated. They found out, like, listen, there's no other footprints up there that we know of. It couldn't have been them. They're basically like, dude, we don't. Back in 2019, they reopened the case. With all they do.
Really?
Yeah, we have no idea.
Just no clue. And now, so some of the more weird stuff is that the Soviets were doing bomb testing or missile testing.
It was a testing site near, and there's records that they were Cold War era.
Oh, we're lucky we know about it at all. There's not much information across the Iron Curtain.
It's pretty crazy.
Let me look exactly what year.
But it was a suspected Soviet testing site there in the Ural Mountains. And there's speculation that it was some kind of like fear toxin, that it was
59 was the year.
Yeah, it's still pretty...
That's the beginning of the Cold
War.
Yeah.
That's when Russia still hasn't starved all the Ukrainians.
And so they don't know what. Some people say aliens.
Yeah,
I never got the aliens.
There's lots of weirdos.
There was like no evidence.
Why do they say Bigfoot?
Most
Why are
of
the aliens
like
weirdos and not the Bigfoot people?
Because if aliens made it all the way here, they would.
Why kill 9 skiers?
Yeah, they could have had anyone they wanted.
Why not?
I mean, so I guess.
Why do you squash bugs and then go, you know?
That's true. And I guess the aliens don't necessarily have to travel that far. They could live on Venus or under Earth, like under the Earth or Mars.
So why do they think it was aliens? Or not aliens, Bigfoot.
So no one knows. But
Yeah.
the theory is Bigfoot because of mostly how much
And the
trauma was done.
And the stories of the Mansi. Again, the Mansi will tell you, we don't go near Superstition Mountain. We go near, we just
we leave it alone.
There's spirits there that will fuck your world.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much...
But non-commies died.
Got any questions?
This thing can't be real.
Dude, what if it is, though?
It can't.
Why?
Why can it not be real? The coelacanth couldn't be real. Highland gorillas couldn't be real.
Well, we know we have a body. We have
After
a body.
they weren't real until the white man discovered them.
Yeah, why you racist? You don't believe
like,
all Indians?
It's like I'm trying to think. It's like when
You don't believe the commies?
It's like when they said fucking Christopher Columbus discovered America. It's like, how the fuck are people there and you're gonna say you discovered it?
Because they didn't map it and write about it. That's why.
Neither
Because
did
he was
Columbus.
white.
Columbus didn't map it.
He wrote about it. He mapped. Yes, he did. He had
Yeah,
cartography.
he came back. I mean, he came back to
I'm saying he didn't
decimation.
map the fucking United States.
No, but he mapped the...
But he was the
Right.
first white man that, other than the Vikings, that we care about.
Yeah, the fucking
First white man we care about.
The Vikings knew about this for fuck off longer.
I'm gonna point a telescope at the moon and then declare that I fucking found the moon. Like, that's how fucking ridiculous I think that this is. You'd be like, why? There have been millions of people who've seen, billions that have seen the moon, and I'm gonna be like, I don't fucking care. I'm the fucking first dude. I'm the first white dude, as you guys said.
I'm the only one I can confirm.
You know, I think a guy named Neil Armstrong would disagree because he put his foot there.
And his footprints should still be there, too. Him and Buzz.
Lightyear?
Dude, no. Shut up.
I know.
God bless. You know what that is? That's a totally different story. But Buzz Aldrin's reaction when he comes back from the moon landing is terrifying. Like, that dude saw something. But, anyway.
It was Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
Space monkey.
So I guess, why do you discredit the evidence that has been presented? Full-throatedly. Knowing,
I don't.
hang on, knowing
evolutionary wise, it's possible.
Animals like the okapi, animals like the lowland gorilla, animals like the coelacanth,
The giant squid and colossal squid.
yeah.
Those were once cryptids, by the way.
The thing is that
all of these were cryptids.
Oh, what's the really long sea serpent looking son of a bitch? The
Oarfish?
yeah.
Show me a picture of an oarfish.
Bro.
Yeah, they're
I'll
weird.
show you a picture of an
They're
oarfish.
fucking-
You want to fucking see a sea serpent?
They're very rare. They're rarer than colossal squids. That's how rare oarfish are.
Yeah, well, so they only come to the surface when they die. And we only have like 2 ever.
That's what you're basing all this?
No.
Not the Bigfoot, but I'm just saying, like...
So we don't know that this is as big as they get. Again, we only have 2. It's just like we don't know how big the colossal squid actually gets because we only find dead ones after finding sperm whales. Like... So what makes this so unbelievable compared to the other... I mean, the orangutan. The orangutan was a myth.
Well, so the thing is that... So you're going to need a couple things.
You say a body must stab you in the kidney.
Well, you're going to need something tangible. Something I can get my flipping hands on.
Okay, so what if I bring you DNA evidence?
Yeah, you're going to need something like that. Like,
What
it
if
doesn't
I-
have to be a hand. Like, you just give me something.
Oh, I know exactly what I'm bringing you. We've already discussed. But what if I brought
Bigfoot's
you DNA?
ass.
Then we're going to mount it on the wall. But what if we brought DNA evidence? But the problem with some of that is if it comes back with any trace of hominid, science automatically throws it out. So we've had DNA samples done before. At any time it comes back with any measure of human DNA, they call the sample contaminated and throw it out.
Well, the problem, and this is kind of the problem with the Bigfoot hunters, is not too many of them are biologists. So it doesn't take much to contaminate. So, like, fossils are very fucking, like, delicate. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to take much, and it'll be like a sand rock, and it'll just fucking vanish. Now think about that, like, if you wanted to study that. Like, you can't just grab it delicately and put it into fucking something. Like, that'll contaminate the fossil. It's the same with hair. It's the same with, like, one of the biggest findings, this sounds crazy, is petrified Native American shit. They found, that's why they think that they came back further than we did, because we found their petrified shit.
And
we've actually learned so much.
I was right.
We've learned.
I'm just saying we were here way before everyone else thought, and the only person who was saying that on this podcast
it's
is
not
me.
much further, but
Like
it's
3,000.
15,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
about- that's about
3,000.
what we
No, it's
saw.
like 4,000 years before.
well, to
No,
be fair,
no,
Cloven,
30,000 years ago is when
Also,
there's
it's 15,000 years
I-
more.
no,
Yes.
no, I don't know about that.
30. No. They found a kill site of a baby mammoth with its head bashed in by tools. 30.
I'm willing to bet it's fucked up. No, I just wait. Just check back on that story later, because most of
They're
that
not
ends up being
denying it.
Bullshit.
Nick, I'm gonna need my cigar now because
some
it's
people-
good to be right.
Because some people claim to have found like mammoth like carving in like
Now-
T-Rex.
now we have-
Getting off topic. Hang
We
on.
have found hair that doesn't match anything in our known database.
Okay, but that you don't fucking get it. That's not how it works.
No, I get it. So that proves
Because
something.
we can tell, even if it's not fucking. This is what people don't get, is that even if we can tell that it's not like we don't have anything, we can tell like what it kind of is. We can tell if it's dog. We can tell if it's fucking cat. We can tell if it's primate or otter or fucking whatever. Right?
Well, and to your credit, the science of environmental DNA, which I don't know, I'm up to date on this because it's used a lot in cryptozoological research.
Oh, fuck.
So they did recently. They did an article on Nessie where we've gotten so good at mapping DNA that they can go to Loch Ness, take several large tubes of water from different locations around the lake.
They
and
tell
get
you
what's
what-
called and tell you what fish are swimming and shitting in that water.
It's mostly eels. It's mostly
It
eels.
is mostly eels. And that's what they actually think the Loch Ness Monster is either a very large eel, which is distinctly possible. Eels like other fish, grow to their environment. So if they've, or rolling bodies of eels. So some eels, when they do mate, like they spin and it can look really weird if they're mating near the surface, which can give that ripple effect that the iconic Nessie does. But environmental DNA has actually come a long way. You can actually take a soil sample and find a bunch of DNA from a bunch of different creatures. And that's just now starting. It's a lot more complicated on land than it is in water. Just simply because you have a lot more foreign material. So water is a base. It's easy to kind of filter that out. But with dirt, and especially like as you take like a tube of it, you're getting a whole bunch of shit. But it's just now being used, and I'm actually really intrigued to see, because I think if anything has a hope of proving Bigfoot, because obviously these creatures are scared of humans, or not scared. What's the word I'm looking for?
Cautious?
Not cautious. It's
Curious?
They avoid us.
It's cautious.
They avoid us at all costs. And so some people are like, well, we're going to find a Bigfoot body. Like, and I'm not saying there's a million Bigfoot roaming the woods of America. They've done, like, speculation. It's all just speculation, to be perfectly honest, about how many Bigfoots would actually be roaming the North American continent. And really, once you get into Canada, the forest could literally be chock fucking full of Bigfoot, and nobody would ever fucking know. Because it's just that much of nobody. But, so like, one of the big arguments is like, well, why don't we have a body? They kind of debunked that, just saying like, so when something dies, even in like the Oklahoma woods, it takes like 30 days.
No, 7.
Is it 7?
7 days you can take a deer carcass, and they've proven they take a video, and it can be almost left to nothing but bones.
No. Why can't we, like fucking National Geographic, go fucking see it?
Monday?
Because they can. There's so much Bigfoot money. That's a point I was gonna bring up.
Not for actual scientific exploration.
This is billions of dollars.
But it's billions in people like, what's the show you watch? Mountain Monsters.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's the thing, is nobody wants...
You think there's money in that? Go send someone to actually fucking find a Bigfoot.
But the money's to be made in the speculation, not the actual discovery.
Well, I'm going to do the same thing we do to Garrett all the time. Who the fuck is going to fork the bill to go find what you say is Magical Monkey Man dancing with fucking pixies and leprechauns?
Everyone wants a return on their investment, right? So if you really don't believe, if you're a big executive, right, and I'm coming to you and say, I want to go hunt Bigfoot. I want to go hunt Bigfoot. And you're going to say, well, the only way, because you don't believe in Bigfoot, the only way I'm getting my money back is if we turn this into a ridiculous TV show where you run around shirtless in a beer gut waving guns around with your brothers.
Right.
And that's what it becomes. Because that's what we got to do to get the funding.
But there are tons of people. Like, you ever been to a Bigfoot conference? They have actual fucking biologists there. And they're like, yeah, like, we're
scientists are not that well off.
Like they are trying...
I want to go to Hugo, Oklahoma, where they had the Bigfoot convention.
We'll actually be near Hugo.
There's
a reason for that.
But, yeah, it's there. We would have found somebody, somewhere, with a fucking camera would have found this. You would have found it by fucking accident. I mean, that's how we discovered, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's not mountain lions,
but you're assuming this. You're assuming this is just some dumb animal. I don't think it is.
Well, we have.
But that's the thing. It could be fucking. We have infinitely.
The problem here is why we can give you a film like the Patterson and be like, "That's fake." Yeah. We give you a picture. That's fake.
You need a body, is what you want.
I need something I can get my fucking hands on. Because then I can test it. Because then I can test it.
The Patterson-Gimlin footage has been done.
So think about it like this: like mountain gorillas. You know how we found them? They fucking shot a motherfucker. And you know what they did? They brought it to us, and they fucking posed next to it, and this is the guy, with a gun, and a fucking bullet in its head, okay? That's what I need. So you, when you go fucking hunting this fucking
You're
thing...
coming.
Bring something big enough to fucking kill it or yourself. Because one of you three has to fucking die. Okay?
Me and Nick have actually discussed this. So we just got done telling you a whole bunch of stories about how Bigfoot
can
be very violent, and they're in family groups.
Yeah, I'm bringing a 9mm. I'm going to file down that...
You save one for yourself.
No, I'm going to file down that front side so I don't chip a tooth when I put that motherfucker in my mouth and go boom. When I see 8'1.5" tall monkey man going...
Dude, honestly, if it's more than one, we do. We either have to run or just
All I'm picturing is the new Tarzan movie. You want me to lick his balls too? I wasn't gonna. Looks like you were.
I would nope.
I'll fight him hand to hand.
But that's what we need. We need something.
Yeah, you got to have a physical.
I mean,
I get it,
You know,
and that's really the body of science is going to have that. Like, I can't expect this to be added to like the zoological record without a body.
But
at least fossils.
But the thing is, we don't have like even like the clade for it. So like we don't have like an ancestor for this. What people are describing, we're like we have nothing.
Nick, is he telling the truth?
I mean, we have what we think. Like, there can be multiple things. We actually have a hominid who...
You got nothing.
No, we actually, in
That's
our family tree, we have a hominid who's 8 feet tall. Matches the description of Bigfoot. 8 feet tall, 500 pounds.
Dennis Oven?
No, different one. I think it's the biggest hominid in the...
If it's an actual hominid, that's
Well, the
more evidence
closest
than I
thing
was
you got
gonna say.
really is fucking Gigantopithecus.
So Gigantopithecus...
But it's an
is-
orangutan.
Yeah. It's
Basically.
more similar to an orangutan.
It's
But I don't know that that's the closest thing. So again, I think this is at least semi-intelligent creature. I'm talking smarter than elephants. So if we're assuming that it might be a hominid. So by mapping the human genome and then by also, I think we've mapped Neanderthal and Denisovans and Floresiensis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by mapping the family tree of hominids, we actually know that in modern Homo sapiens, we have, I think, at least 3 more ancestors on our family tree. Like, there are at least 3 other hominid species that we can verify in the genes of our tree.
not even a human. It's, I don't know how to say that.
Meganthropus.
Yeah, it's an 8 foot tall primate. 400, 600 pounds.
Bipedal?
Yeah.
Really?
How far ago did it die?
Yeah, when did it die? Well, it's at fossil finds, so I'm going to say
A
more
while.
than 3,000 years ago.
A fucking while. We were probably back to bipedal by then. Oh, sorry, back to quadruped, and then...
I'd have to see where on the evolutionary tree, because it's not even... What's the full scientific name of it, Nick?
Because when you're talking that far back, like, it ain't alive today.
Yeah.
Nothing alive back then is really
Sharks.
the same
Great
today.
white.
Yeah, great white. I'll give it to them.
Crocodiles.
Yeah,
Turtles.
they haven't changed. Reptiles.
The fucking coelacanth.
Let's fucking coelacanths.
The fish. It's
Oh,
a
the
weird
one you
looking.
showed me?
Yeah, it's the weird looking fish that's like it's all armor,
Oh, yeah.
but it's literally like we find it 65 million years ago, and then we find it exactly the fucking same off the coast of Africa. Like nothing has changed about. Less has changed about the coelacanth than has changed about the crocodile. Because at least the crocodile got smaller. This motherfucker is apparently the same thing. But yeah, so what he's looking at is clearly my own personal belief. I think it's a remnant hominid. Like I think it is very early on in our family tree. It diverted off from like Australopithecus or something. Something that had human-like intelligence. Because just listening to the Sierra sounds. Wolves can
It
communicate.
was found on Indonesia.
But this Indonesia,
Yeah.
Meganthropus. What's the full scientific name though? Oh yeah, so it is a hominid. It's in the same family.
Homidae. Hominidae, it's a primate. It's a non-human.
Homidae is still.
Non-human hominid.
Oh, so it's not.
I would say.
So I guess I am saying it would be something like that. Something not maybe of our family tree, but a cousin. Something that's smart enough to know it watched our species literally murder or other human species out of existence. And it's probably like, I don't need none of that.
I don't know. I just don't know that I can fucking buy it. Because, I mean, you're telling me this thing's gonna go around for fucking, at this point, I mean, depending on who you ask, I mean, fuck, thousands of years?
How long did it take us to
Without-
discover apes?
You know?
The gorillas. 1915
Well,
was when
in
we
fairness,
discovered.
it didn't take the Africans that long.
Yeah. Like you said,
But
They
they
knew
were-
it was there.
But they were cryptids to them.
just, you know, white people. Like you said, like, how long did it take for white people to figure it out?
1915.
That's when we count it, yeah. So, the black people of Africa knew.
They knew about bonobos too. Bonobos are pretty recent.
Yeah, they're recent. And those are fucking horrifying.
Dude, those are murder apes.
Yeah, apparently they're like just a normal size. Like, they're not too much different structurally from a chimp. They're just more aggressive for some.
Taller, right?
They're
And more
taller.
aggressive.
They walk bipedally more too,
Yeah.
which is why I'm assuming why they would be taller because their legs
Apes.
have to lengthen. To
Chimps
walk
are in the
upright.
Stone Age, and that scares me.
They're not in the Stone Age. They don't manufacture tools without witnessing something else do it, and then still, even then, it's not.
Who's to say we didn't?
What?
I mean,
Who the fuck would have taught us?
aliens.
Whatever was
Bigfoot.
Whatever-
Bigfoot taught us.
whatever we were scared of initially. That's why we're scared of human-looking things.
We'll have to do one on the Uncanny Valley. But let's wrap this up. So what do you guys got? I'm personally excited. This is gonna be the greatest or my last birthday ever. There is no in between.
I plan on butt fucking one of them.
Well, that's got to be edited out.
It won't.
God dang it.
There's nothing bigger than a power move.
Okay, stop. I'm pretty excited. Like I don't know that I'm holding out a whole lot of hope. It's my first Bigfoot hunting trip ever.
Odds are not in our favor.
Yeah.
What do you bring to hunt a Bigfoot?
Guns.
Guns.
Jack
Thank God
Link's
for
jerky.
The Second Amendment.
Jack
put
Link's
there.
beef jerky and at least a 50 cal.
Are we gonna have a 50 cal?
I'm bringing the muzzleloader.
Oh, okay.
Fuck if it's in season or not.
No, it won't. Oh, it's gonna be fun though. We still gotta convince Wyatt to come, but Nick's for sure coming.
Now chloroform.
I'm just glad y'all ain't making me go by myself because that would have been terrifying. I ain't gonna lie. The place we're camping at 2 nights in a row is like in the middle of bump nowhere.
But ding 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 ding. If I hear banjos, I'm killing us all.
This is Oklahoma, not Kentucky.
It doesn't have to be. Moonshiners and hillbillies don't give a fuck where they're at.
I feel like they prefer Tennessee, don't you? Or Arkansas.
See, no one thinks of Oklahoma. Perfect place to run.
Oh,
your
the
business.
distinct possibility in the part of Oklahoma we're going to is stumbling on a pot farm.
Even worse.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's more dangerous than the Bigfoot.
Angry
The
pot
only thing more
farmer.
dangerous than a pot farm is a pot farmer who doesn't want to let people know that there's a pot farm
Yep.
in the fucking woods.
A Bigfoot pot farmer.
But it's God. It's gonna be exciting. I'm pretty pumped. I'm hopeful.
I'm ready.
So, there is no Atlantean.
No, there is no
I've been waiting.
Atlantean.
What if Bigfoot?
Okay, no, I'm
Actually,
serious.
hang on, because as you say that,
Oh
the
fuck!
entire time you were talking about like we need some eccentric scientist to fund an actual Bigfoot expedition.
You say Graham
The
Hancock?
only thing that came to mind was the crazy old man from Atlantis, the Lost Empire, who gets Milo and is like, just like, here, I'm gonna throw like just $1 billion at your fucking Atlantean expedition. Do you not know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the old man who's like doing yoga and stuff. He's like, yeah, good, because
Popping his neck with his foot.
we already got the submarine and the people. You're going.
That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. That's all that was going through my head, and it took every ounce of me not to go Atlantean Bigfoot.
Hello, my boy.
Yeah.
What if I give Bigfoot a trident and make Atlantean Bigfoot?
No. So, yeah. Come talk to us sometime after October 9th, and I'll let you know if I found Bigfoot or not.
We'll let you know on a podcast.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If we find it will be here first. Fuck CNN. Fuck Fox
Are you fucking
News,
serious?
Fuck the Smithsonian.
If
it will
you
be here
If you
first.
kill a Bigfoot, you're gonna. No, we're live streaming it forever. We are. I don't care what we gotta do.
I will skull fuck it.
Dude, God, what is with you?
Why? Why is he gotta come? What
What
the
do to you?
fuck is yeah.
That's what he's gonna do if we don't do a power move.
That's the thing. There's
What is worse? I'll leave this to the audience: to die by Bigfoot or get raped by Bigfoot. Because no one's gonna believe you if you get.
Why didn't you kick him out? Why? And obviously the answer is to be raped by Bigfoot is worse.
Like no one believes you.
What if he lets you live?
I wouldn't let myself live after
At that point, it's out of Bigfoot's control.
Yeah.
Like,
Bigfoot knew what he was doing because he knew no one would believe you.
Oh, believe all Bigfoot survivors.
this was a good choice. This was such a good choice.
Oh, okay. Well, this has been the Refined Peasants. Thanks for sticking around this long if you did. We'll see you next week.